Hello, and thank you for joining us. This is No Soundbites Allowed, and I am your host, Michael Voss, Dragon of the Southern Tier. I'm happy to be here with you today to talk with you about a very interesting question. Is it okay for the government to micromanage your life? It's a very interesting question, and it has many deep ramifications, and we want to address at least part of that issue with you. Should the government micromanage your life? Now, before we get into that question, we first want to mention, if this is the first time that you've joined us on the channel, we welcome you and thank you for joining us. And we do long-form political commentary on this program. And every Sunday, we do a live stream on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, DLive, basically every form of social media that we are allowed by the internet overlords to be able to reach you, to listen to your text, your chats, to get your phone calls telling us what are the important issues in America and around the globe in your mind, and to hear your voice, one of the few programs that actually listen to you directly. And so we hope that every Sunday at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, you will join us from wherever in the world to share your voice and the expression of free speech that is this channel. Now on to the issue for today. The question that's in front of us is it okay for the government to micromanage your life? Should the government be able to control your actions and your decisions? It's a serious question and it has many aspects. And the key thought here is the government will tell you this is for your good. They're doing this for you. The fact that you don't get to control your own life is something to help you out, to make your life better. Now, the question came to us from a good friend of mine who mentioned it. It's Mr. Larry Sharpe. Many people may know him for his run for governor, and we hope that he may be considering doing so again. Larry Sharpe is a libertarian, well known across the nation, and is a very good friend of this show. And we have appeared on his program, The Sharpe Way, twice now. And Larry Sharpe presented us with the question, the Biden administration this week is expected to propose a ban on menthol cigarettes, a move backed by a civil rights group that say Black Americans are hurt by the industry's aggressive targeting. And my friend Larry Sharpe asks, what are your thoughts? Now, before I go into my thoughts on that, I do want to mention that this is an article that came out at about 5 o'clock from Reuters. And in this article by Reuters, we see exactly what I had just read to you, that the Food and Drug Administration has scheduled a briefing on Thursday with lawmakers, and that the White House has declined to make comment on this. They also emphasize that, according to research that has been done, somewhere in the range of about 85% of Black individuals, Black Americans in particular, smoke menthol cigarettes. And that by removing the menthol cigarettes, it would effectively cause more people to not smoke at all. Well, that's not exactly correct. I understand that Reuters, and I know that there are several organizations that have come together to make that statement. It's not really accurate, in the sense that people will not just stop smoking cigarettes because their brand has changed. Not only is it possible to get cigarettes and to make your own cigarettes, but in fact, many people smoke cigarettes for the nicotine. That is the addiction. And it doesn't matter whether that addiction is coming from a menthol flavored cigarette or a regular flavored cigarette. I will add my own personal experience. As many people may know from watching the program, I do smoke cigarettes. I started off smoking Marlboro Red cigarettes. I have, over time, moved on to menthol cigarettes, Marlboro Green cigarettes. So, and if I were in need of a cigarette at any given time, would I smoke a non-mentholated cigarette versus a mentholated cigarette? Yes, I would, because I am addicted to nicotine. That's just a fact. And I'm not promoting cigarettes, nor am I promoting smoking. I am addressing the reality of the situation. But the reality of the situation really isn't about cigarettes. It really isn't about the addiction and whether or not it is about the question, does the government have the right to tell a grown individual, a fully grown adult, whether or not they can make the life choices they wish to make, especially on a product that is not lethal? Now, I know someone would say, well, Mike, cigarettes kill people. Maybe, maybe not. There's no conclusive evidence. People get cancer with or without cigarettes. People get lung cancer just from the air pollution that exists in many cities. So we can't say conclusively, and there truly isn't conclusive evidence, as we have seen over the decades. While reports have come out, they have also been discredited and misquoted. Is there a risk from cigarettes? Absolutely. Is it the government's job to decide for any individual what you can and cannot do? And this is a big question, because they're going to say this is in your best interest, and I would have to say, but is it really? Because if the government can say to you, we can choose this for you, what else can the government choose? What other decision will you be denied? This is very much the same argument that came about under the Obamacare issue. If the government can tell you that you must purchase their health insurance, then what else can the government tell you you must also own? If the government can tell you that you cannot have this product, what other product can the government say you cannot have? And in each case, the government will always say, well, this is for your best interest. This is because we're looking out for you, irregardless of whether or not that individual wants that to be the case. It's a very nuanced question. It's a very important question. Now, in part, we had a slightly different answer when we responded to our friend Larry Sharpe. And in that response, we said, Biden is targeting people of color to be restricted on their right to purchase and use legal products because he doesn't like what they purchase. This is insanely racist, unconstitutional, and wrong. It's micromanaging lives based on skin color under the umbrella that government and the mostly white power brokers of the Democratic Party are smarter than a class of people who have no power to determine or protect their own lives. It's sickening. I'm pissed, Larry Sharpe. I can go on about this for hours. And we stand by that statement we made and the comment we left for Larry Sharpe, our good friend. It is true. When a government is targeting a group of people based on their skin color, as if they have no individual choices whatsoever, that is a problem, and it leads to a troubling outcome. It leads to a troubling trend. What else would a government say that these people of this skin color, of this religion, what are they allowed and not allowed to do for the benefit of those people and themselves? Isn't that the same argument that was made in the 1930s to Jewish people in Germany? Isn't that the same kind of argument that's been used in many nations throughout history to take away the rights and freedoms of various individuals? The government micromanaging your life. The government is deciding that it knows what is best for you. Is that not a staple of what we have seen in communist nations and socialist nations across the world? Is it not the same ideology that the Soviet Union had, that the Chinese government has right now, that we have seen employed in Cuba and Venezuela and North Korea, in some of the most despotic nations in the world, where governments said, well, you can do this, but not that, because we, the government, say so, because we, the government, know what's best for you. No matter what your individual choice is, no matter what that individual situation is, you are not an individual. You're merely a checkbox. And you have no freedom. And you have no choice. And you have no power. That flies in the face of the 10th Amendment. That flies in the face of the Declaration of Independence, of the Constitution. And that is troubling to us. Perhaps it is the right argument. Maybe that is the right thing for the government to do, to deny people the ability to smoke cigarettes. And if that is the case, then why not pass a law like that? We did that once before. It was called Prohibition, where the United States government, as determined through the Congress, said that alcohol was prohibited. It was a danger to the public. That was a right of the government because that was the choice of the people. That choice was later rescinded, or that denial of that choice was later rescinded. And we continue to imbibe alcohol at this time. People have been made aware of the dangers of cigarettes, both imagined and real, and continue to be told that on a regular basis. It is a choice of grown adults whether or not they choose to accept that risk. But the government doesn't get to tell you that. And my problem with this isn't really about the cigarettes. Even though I don't enjoy the fact that the government is targeting black people specifically and targeting certain individuals. If this is about smoking, then ban all smoking, not just a certain type of cigarette or a certain type of smoker. Ban them all. If that's what you believe. If you believe that's for the best health of American citizens, then go after smoking entirely. But to go after a segment of smokers means you're targeting a segment of people, that you are setting up a class system of certain individuals having rights and freedoms that other individuals do not have. And therein lies my problem, my inherent question, and the inherent anger that this brings to me. Because we're setting up a class system, a system that does not recognize individuals or their rights or values, a system that does not believe in freedom of that individual, and instead categorizes people by checkbox, which might as well be cattle cars, and denies those individuals rights and freedoms others still have. That's a second-class citizen. That's, in some people's mindset and terminology, you could call that slavery, whether economic or physical. Yes, this is couched under the idea that this is for freedom, this is for safety, this is for health care. But at the end of the day, it's more than that. It's about control. It's about power. It's about freedom and the rights and the ability to express that freedom and those rights. We are troubled by this. We are deeply troubled by this. Let me say it again. If the Biden administration believes that cigarettes are dangerous, then ban cigarettes. If you think that this is in the best interest of the health of the United States, then address it as an issue for the United States and allow the American people to go through Congress to help decide whether or not this is the case. Don't do an end around on the United States government by going to other agencies of the government directly under the control of the Biden administration, bypassing the American people, the 10th Amendment, our right to vote, and usurping their power and denying them freedoms that otherwise would be allowed to them and will continue to be allowed to other individuals. So let us address this very clearly. You may have a different opinion about this. You may believe that your freedom should be restricted, that government is smarter than the average person. I don't believe so. Let's remember that government is just a collection of people. Joe Biden is no smarter than any other individual. Most of the members of Congress are no smarter than any other individual in America. I know this. I've interviewed members of Congress. I have spoken to them in person many, many times for many years. I've engaged with them in conversations about various issues that affect the American people. They're no smarter, they're no better than anyone else. And whether we're looking at Congress or any various agency or department of the United States government, they are all comprised of people. People with opinions, people with goals, people with agendas. That doesn't make them better or more right because they happen to be in power, or that their political preference may be supported by the news media. That's not how freedom works. That's not how choice works. Joe Biden shouldn't, and the Biden administration should not advance this issue, at least in the manner in which they're doing. We say again, if you think that smoking is bad for the American people, go through the process to ban smoking. Go to Congress and ask for that law. Let Congress go back to the public and ask them where they stand and whether this should be a national position or not. But don't usurp the people. Don't usurp the Constitution. Don't usurp the inalienable rights of the American people. Because when we do that, even when it's said, as it is always said, in the best interest of the people, invariably it never is. But perhaps you think we've misunderstood. Perhaps you think we don't understand the essence of this. Perhaps you think that the individual rights are not as important as the health of the nation. We look forward to hearing your comments. We look forward to hearing what you have to say about this. And we hope that you'll not only join us here, but also on Sundays at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to have this discussion and to share our voices in an expression of the First Amendment. And of course, if you have found this to be interesting or informative, please like and share. And most of all, please do subscribe so that others can join in this expression of free speech and to add their voice to this conversation.